Thank you. Once again, distinguished guests, the Executive Secretary, Nigerian Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, NATI, Dr. Obona Oji, leaders from the Ministry of Solid Mineral Development and Ministry of Steel Development, peer presence, stars of native distinguished guests. You are all welcome to the focus group workshop on assessment of governance initiative in the Nigerian mining sector and alignment with African mining vision. Please to start this event, please, with due respect. We kindly stand for the national anthem over the country. Thank you, please. Thank you. Seated. Thank you. All right, to kickstart this event, distinguished guest, please permit me to invite you to podium, who is the Assistant Director, Energy and Mining Department, native Mrs. Chineye Okechukwu, for her opening remark. Please, there are calls for Mrs. Chin Okechukwu, as she made her way to the podium. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Sorry you're coming to an 80 that my ES is not around. We're in Uyo, sorry, we're in Akwa Ibom this week doing some mining event there. Director of Energy and Mining is on his way, but he has asked me to just welcome everyone. Just want to add that we have no fire drills planned for today. So please, if you hear any fire alarm, it's real. We just go outside and the muster point is out there. So on behalf of the ES of NATI, who is absent, like I've said, I'm pleased to welcome you all to the focus group discussion on the assessment of governance initiatives in the Nigerian mining sector and alignment with the African mining vision. This engagement is timely and significant. As you are aware, the solid minerals sector remains a critical pillar in Nigeria's strategy for economic diversification and sustainable development. At NATI, we recognize that effective governance rooted in transparency, accountability, and stakeholder inclusion is central to unlocking the full potential of this sector. The AMV provides a shared continental framework for ensuring that mining resources contribute to a broad-based development. It is therefore essential to assess how Nigeria's current mining governance initiatives align with this vision, identify the existing gaps, and explore opportunities for alignment and reform. Today's discussion offers a platform for rich, multi-stakeholder insights that will inform NATI's ongoing work in promoting good governance, evidence-based policy, and institutional reforms in the extractive sector. We are confident that the outcome of this session will strengthen our collective efforts to build a more transparent and development-oriented mining sector. Thank you once again for your presence and your valuable contributions. We look forward to a fruitful and engaging conversation. Thank you. Just want to add that Dr. Davis is someone we've worked with closely in NATI. He's helped us in, even when we started trying to do our first NATI solid minerals report. So that's why we're here to support him, and we just hope that everyone would rally around for this. Thank you so much.
Please, a rounding of applause for Ja for that well-tailored opening remark. Please, once again, celebrate Mrs. Chineye Okechukwu for that opening remark. I think at this point, we need to interact as we introduce ourselves. Self introduction, where your work and your designation, please. Okay, My name is Tony Epo. I'm from the Ministry of Solid Mineral Development. I work under the Minister, Dr. Dele Alaki. Right. Okay, let's know you, please. Good morning, everyone. My name is Engineer Bisi Mojolala. I'm from Ministry of Solid Mineral Development. You can introduce yourself so we know you. Thank you.
Good morning, all. My name is Ibrahim Abdul Hadi from Naiti.
Good morning, all. My name is Olufemi Omokunola, Nigeria Mining Department, Naiti.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Christabel Uzam with NAT IT support.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jamaina Anan from SISLAS.
Good morning, all. My name is Ahmad Abdul Samad. I'm the Program Officer for Natural Resource Governance Institute.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Febo Ezil from NAITI, Energy and Mining Department.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Shiwa Nega. I work as public policy and research officer at Tila, Nigeria. Morning, all. My name is Basi Ugo, a journalist and the National Coordinator of Media Initiative for Transparency in the Extractive Industry.
Good morning, all. My name is Paul Odokra, a program officer with the African Network for Environment, Economy, Justice, and Age, Abuja.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kolawole Bamo. I'm Executive Director, Initiative, Participation, Accountability, and Inclusive Development and NGO in the sector. Thank you.
Good morning, all. My name is Odebat Uche, Solid Mineral Development, ASM Department. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Shadi Chike from National and Small Scale Mining Department, Ministry of Solid Minerals.
Very much. My name is Dr. Davis. I'm the lead consultant for the project. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Benjamin Oyekole from Good Governance.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Patrice Liba. I'm junior consultant.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Paul Alpha, a staff under AMV. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kabir Saifuddin from SISLA, Department of Taxation and Conservation of Nature.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Augustine Okiri. I work with Connected Development as a research associate. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Zakaria Otajuddin. I work as an academic staff from University of Abuja, Department of Geology and Gemology.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Aisha and I confirm social action.
Good morning. My name is Peter Akwe. I'm a research professor at the Nigerian Institute of Advanced Legal Studies.
Morning. My name is Tudu Taiwo. I'm the CEO of PSETA Mineral Development Company. Good morning, everyone. My name is Felicia Diet. Also the Nigerian Indigenous Women in Mining and Natural Resource Organization.
Good morning. Endurance Olagosi, Youth Forum on. Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Enebio Palua. I lead the Natural Resource and Climate Governance Program at Budget Foundation.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ajole Enemari. I'm the Equitable Resource Governance Program Officer at Global Rights.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chinedu Basi. I'm a lead bank consultant.
Good morning, all. My name is Paul Obu from Institutional and Sustainable Development Fund.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Florence Nicholas Cheguda. I'm a Deputy Director with the Metallurgical Raw Materials Development and Investment Promotion of the Ministry of State Development. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ambassador Regina Isura, representing women in mining in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Please a round of applause for yourself once more. Thank you. Thank you. At this point, distinguished guest, please permit me to move to the next item on the program, which is to lovely remark. Please permit me to invite to the podium Engineer Akintunde. He is the Director of Artisanal and Small Scale Mining, Ministry of Solid Mineral Development, ably represented here by Engineer BC. Please, round of applause for Engineer BC as he makes his way to the podium. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm standing for my director, engineer, Today Akinokide, who and I would have loved to be here for some official engagement. Then the remarks, please. Nigeria is a party to the resolution of African Union concerning the use of minerals for development of African countries and economic growth. This project is timely, and the Ministry of Solid Mineral Development is in support of African mining vision, and will promote and continue to promote diversification. I want to say that we'll continue, and the ministry will continue to support African mining vision and continue to partner with all stakeholders. On this note, on behalf of the ministry, I want to welcome each and everyone to this program and wish you a peaceful deliberation. Thank you.
Please, a round of applause for Engineer BC for that remark on behalf of the Director of Artisanal and Small Scale Mining. At this point, could we move to the first presentation on the workshop objective? Challenge and prospect of the mining and metal sector in Nigeria, and this will be online. Please permit me to invite Professor Koki is online. So Koki, I don't know if you can hear us from there.
He's not online.
Online.
He was here before we left.
Okay. Okay. Maybe we hang on when it's online. We'll call it. Okay, we move quickly to the next presentation, which is presentation of the workshop objective, and this will be done by the boss of the bosses. He's been anchoring. I watched him when I joined the ministry, anchoring all the ministry program, and a former director of ERS. Please make welcome Dr. David to the podium. Please celebrate by boss. He's a master for this job. Good morning, boss.
Thank you very much, the MC, for your good work. I want to use this opportunity to welcome every participant to this stakeholder sensitization and focus group workshop. And probably you're still wondering why we are here. We are here because the entire African Union would want all countries to use their mineral resources effectively to promote economic development and growth. And that is the focus of what the presidents of African countries they agreed on the in 2009. And because of that, the African Mining Development Center was actually set up in 2012. And because of that drive to use all African countries' mineral potential to develop, the NDC was set up. And afterwards, 9 countries have been able to carry out their study on the use of minerals to develop Africa. 9 countries, and this year, Nigeria and South Africa currently they are engaged in such an exercise. My name is Dr. Davis. And here standing as the lead consultant for this research. And this research is actually pioneered by the African Mining Development Center based in Addis Ababa. And I have here with me my junior consultant for the project. And please, Mr. Patrice Eba is actually from Cote d'Ivoire. So we are here together for this assignment. And so we want to use this opportunity to welcome those of us who are here and those who are also virtual. So today, I'm going to be telling you and talking to you about this wonderful vision of our leaders, especially with respect to development of our mineral resources. Just as a form of introduction, my background, I'm a geologist and also into environment. My PhD in environment. And I was a former director in the Ministry of Solid Minerals. I was the director of planning when the roadmap was actually carried out. I was the director in charge that actually started the roadmap for the sector, supervised the roadmap, and until 2018, when I moved back to my primary area of assignment and back to geological survey, where I was also director of regional mapping for the entire country, and also director of applied geology and engineering. So now I'm a consultant. I'm out of service, but we're not tired. So quickly, let me just take you down, talking about the purpose of why we are here. Wanted Professor Goki of Nasarawa State University to actually talk about challenges of the sector. I remember when we actually prepared the roadmap in 2016, the contribution of mining sector to the to GDP contribution was 0.33, and our goal then was to actually in 10 years' time hit the 3% mark. But where we are today is 0.77, still less than 1% contribution to GDP. So one of the questions we're going to be asking ourselves and why we're here is to actually brainstorm on the challenges and how we can help the sector. So I want to acknowledge all the people here, and we believe that when we get to a discussion session, we'll be able to pour out our hearts. Okay, quickly back to the before my presentation, also I want to say a big thank you to NATI. Wonderful, and they've been wonderful. Wonderful, and hosting this meeting. They've given us maximum support. Minister of Solid Minerals, the minister had a meeting with him 2 weeks ago. The permanent secretary of Minister of Solid Mineral Development, and also the entire staff of Minister of Steel Development. These are the two core ministries actually responsible for driving this sector. So we have here, you can see the NDC logo, the African Union logo. So the title is Stakeholders Consultation Workshop as part of the assessment. So what we're doing to have been engaged to assess the mineral governance initiative of Nigeria to align with its African mining vision. Now, the African mining vision, we're going to tell you the story about it. So I have here the names, my humble self, Patrice. Patrice is actually from Cote d'Ivoire, and is a lawyer who is a senior consultant in extractive and industry and territorial development in Ivory Coast. Next slide, please. And so we also have here Expert France. They are the ones who have been able to source the grant for this work. So the presentation plan quickly, we have here presentation of the evaluation. That's the mission of why we're here, the objectives of the workshop. Then we look at the African mining vision, and then we look at the African Free and the African Free Continental Free Trade Agreement. So next slide, please. Now we're going to look at the objective of the mission and the methodology and possible results. Next slide. So the objectives of why we're here. Number one is to assess the implementation of the African Mining Vision. Now, when you see VMA, that's the French version. African Mining Vision, using the following tools. Now, this assessment is going to be done using 3 tools. Number one is the Country Mining Vision Implementation Guide. This is a publication by the African AMDC. Then we have what we call the African Minerals Governance Framework. We are going to be talking about the pillars which we are going to use to benchmark Nigerian initiatives, as well as of course, we know the FCTA instrument, which has to do with integration, regional trade integration among African countries. Then how do we do this? We're going to be looking at mapping the governance initiatives, all the initiatives that the Ministry of Solid Minerals, the Ministry of Steel, they've been able to put in place. We're going to be looking at them, looking at the existing projects, how they've been able to meet the ANV standard, African Vision standard. So identifying current initiatives and their implementation mechanism. Yesterday, we started this actually, and we were right now for the past 2-3 days, we've been with the Ministry of Solid Minerals, actually looking at from one department to another. And we want to thank the ministry principals, the minister, and the permanent secretary for allowing this. Okay, so we are also going to look at assessing the alignment of the mining project with the African Mining Vision, especially in order to promote sustainable and responsible management of the mining sector in the country. Next slide, please. So the methodology is simple. We are looking at, first thing is looking at the stakeholders mapping and the data collection campaign preparation. Now we'll be able to identify the stakeholders. We're looking at the public institutions and all the MDAs that are connected to the mineral sector. We've also, we've been able to put that together, the public institutions, the private institutions, the mining companies, the mining title holders, the NGOs, civil society as a whole, universities, and all that are actually, okay, please welcome the director of TIL. He's here to represent the minister. So after my talk, he will be giving us the ministerial remarks. So we're also looking at this. So we'll be able to identify the stakeholders, we put them together, and some of them we've contacted, some we are still in the process of contacting them. National planning ought to be here to be part of this meeting. They are very, very zealous about this, and other government agencies. We've actually, export promotion is supposed to be here, and many of them, they are going to be, we're actually reaching out to them. So we've been able to categorize them and, put them together so that we can measure their impact when it comes to contribution to the mineral sector. Then data collection, we're going to be using just 2 methodologies. One is the collection of the qualitative data. We are going to do this from interviews, validation workshops, and so on and so forth. Assessment of the mining sector stakeholders, like this part of what we have in here. Qualitative data, we are going to look at desktop review, literature concerning the sector, government databases, official publications, and so on and so forth. We're also looking at data collection methods. We have questionnaires which we have designed. Actually, the questionnaires were actually, designed by AMDC for standardization. In other words, as we currently, there is a study, the same study is going on in South Africa, and we're using the same questionnaire for that. Then we also have the semi-structured interviews, which we've started with the ministry beginning from Monday. tomorrow we are going to be with Ministry of Steel Development to start the semi-structured interview. And today we are going to MCO, so we started that. And then that's the semi-structured interview. We also have a questionnaire for that. And as part of this workshop, we're going to have a session where each and every one of us will fill the questionnaire. So we are going to have quiz. In other words, some of us will have genuine contributions. We're going to listen to you. We're going to take down what your ideas are and make it. So document analysis or text review. Then we have designed to collect this electronically. We also designed the Kobo tool and Excel, which we are using. So the moment you fill the questionnaires, automatically it's registered with us at the back end. So I'm processing with Excel and other statistical tools. Then next slide, please, quickly. So after we collected all results, we are going to, do a data analysis that we look at the status of implementation of the pillars. Now, for the pillars, we have AMGVs, that is African Minerals Governance Tools. We have 6 pillars. The first pillar, which we are going to measure Nigerian performance, has to do with the legal framework, and that the focus on that is transparency and contracting negotiation. And many of us know what the legal framework is here, and a lot of things are currently being done in terms of tweaking the amending the laws and all that, so that we'll be able to meet expectation. So the second pillar has to do with geological and minerals information, system, which incidentally, the Nigerian Geological Survey, if you want to promote investment in the sector, you also must look at the quality of the data, the geoscience data generated, and also you look at the dissemination, access to those data. So that particular pillar is about de-risking the sector using geosciences data. The third pillar is basically on the fiscal regime and revenue generation. So we all know that revenue generation is critical to promoting GDP and the taxation, the royalties. So there are a lot of us who are here whose focus is actually, I think budget it or something. They are interested in accountability. And so we're going to be more on this. Then the fourth pillar is about linkages. Has 2 modules. Number 1, investment in the sector, promote investment in the sector, and diversification of the economy. So this pillar is actually the heart of AMGC. It's the heart of the MV vision, because the purpose is to ensure that all African countries can sustainably use or extract their mineral resources and promote and economic growth and economic development, reduce poverty alleviation, and all that. So that pillar is very essential. The 5th pillar is actually about the ASM. So there are a lot of people who are here who are actually focusing on ASM, artisanal small-scale mining, and that with a whole pillar that has to do with so many things. So everything on ASM is going to be assigned. So if you are interested in ASM, we give you that particular questionnaire, which my partner will be going to talk more. Then the last one is on environment and social values. Youth, participation in mining, gender issues. We have women in mining here represented. All these human rights issues, they come under this. So we're going to be looking at that. So these are the 6 pillars. We also have other 9 clusters, which maybe later on we'll be explaining that. We call them the action pillars or still under broken down. That was done in 2012 or so. But that talks about mineral resource rent. You have research. You have so many other areas. We have infrastructure. and mineral investment. So you have the 6 pillars and you have the 9 clusters. So all this we are going to use to benchmark where Nigeria is right now. So after that, the analysis will be done. And then we're going to be matchmaking where we are with the free trade vision. So we're going to be looking at the downstream, all the minerals that we have. How does it dovetail into industrialization? That's why Pillar 4 is very, very important. And so we are going to engage the Ministry of Trade. We're going to engage my customs. We're going to engage and look at how these minerals are being utilized. We've actually also engaged the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria to see how this mineral serve as feedstock to our industries. So we have actually written to all these people. And so after the analysis, we're going to have looking at this pillar. If you are looking at this particular diagram, we are going to assess the policies, the laws and regulation, the political economy, the structural factors, the institution and practices. We are going to be doing that. Sorry, somebody can come on. That was as I talked about free trade, that person calling me was actually the presidential advisor on free trade. All right, so departure from so when you look at this, you can look at this map. So measuring Nigeria, after assessing Nigeria, we look at when we look at the scores, this line demarcates whether we are regressing as a nation or whether we are progressing as a nation. So we are going to allocate scores, and the scores will show where we are moving. So this is neutral. This means no movement. That means after assessing Nigeria, you can only find yourself in 3 positions. It's either we are moving as expected using the AMD benchmark, or whether we are going backwards. And so or whether we have no movement at all. Like March, we were there to listen to 3 countries, Zambia, Congo, and Gabon, presenting their own. And we shocked at some of the results that came out. So progression, is either we are progressing, is either we are regressing. So no movement. So these are the probable results after the assessments. Go to the next one. Go to the next, okay. So this is actually showing all the probable results. So we link it. So if we after this course, we're going to assign some color codes. Red signifies that we are just beginning. And that means the countries at the early stage of the African mining implementation. Because one of the things that we're going to get in out of this is our country mining vision. And as I mentioned, with the guide we used, and then we would be able to, maybe we'll get assistance for us to produce our country mining vision. That means now you are be able to domesticate the African mining vision within your country. Incidentally, we don't have a country mining vision. So if we assign orange, that means we are at the moderate level. Countries at the middle of the African mining vision implementation with fair or moderate progression throughout the 6 African mining pillars. Remember, I mentioned the 6 pillars, which is what we are going to use as a benchmark to measure where Nigeria is. And then you have the gray, which is where the middle, where intermediate, and the countries at the intermediate stage of the African mining vision implementation, with a mixed progression, regression, neutrality through the 6 African mining governance framework pillars. Then the other one is green, advanced. I remember we also listened to Morocco when we were in Ethiopia. Looking at Morocco was given as an example, and Morocco is actually advanced. And I used to tell people, Morocco's mainstay is phosphate. That's all. That country maximized their mineral potential. Phosphate has been, just like oil is to Nigeria, phosphate is to Morocco, and they are doing well. All right. So if we are there, with that to be advanced, and the countries at the advanced stage of the African mining implementation with a higher rate of progression throughout the 6 African mining governance framework pillars. And then, of course, you have the gold, which is peak. Some of the northern African countries are they're like almost getting there. As I told you, this research is also being done concurrently with South Africa. So before the end of the year, there's going to be a validation workshop, which hopefully many of us here will still be part of. That is going to be solely African Union, organized, and many of us will still be back. So that's why we are informing you about this study, so that you can contribute positively and be part of what we've done. Next one, quickly. Okay, so we're still looking at the objectives. So just to go down the lane, we have the strategic framework adopted in 2009, which I mentioned. The genesis of this African mining vision benchmark came as a result of this particular meeting of head of states and of government, when they all had decided that time for Africa to use judiciously and promote sustainable development of their mineral potential. And so that meeting, the main objective is to maximize economic benefit for African countries, transform exploitation of mineral resources into an engine for sustainable and inclusive development, stimulate industrial development and local processing. We're talking about value addition. We were discussing yesterday in the ministry with the legal director, and he was telling us about the value chain regulation and other initiatives that we put together, especially by this country. We have about 2 lithium plants now. And so we're trying to see how we can ensure that, exporting our minerals, raw, will not be beneficial to, Nigeria. So we're looking at how we can promote things like that to ensure, stimulate industrial development and come up with an energy, transition energy economy. We're trying to, on Monday, we called the national plan. They are very serious about this study. And they were talking about the hydrogen economy. Most of them were not there because they had to go to Lagos for this kind of stakeholders meeting for the hydrogen economy. And I told them, even while the Ministry of Solid Mineral using coal as for hydrogen economy, everywhere now they are talking about hydrogen economy. Coal is there. Some people are telling us you can't use coal, but you can use coal that are climate friendly and extract, hydrogen to develop the economy. So promote environmental protection and respect for community rights. We're talking about community resilience. We're talking about when you mine, ensure that the community benefits. We're talking about the ASM and bringing them into the economy, making them inclusive and ensuring that you contribute positively to the economy while ensuring environmental justice. Then strengthen the capacity of local institutions. In this study, we have engaged universities. I think in Nigeria, you have almost 100 institutions offering geology, mining, and we've actually reached out to about 1/3 of them to ensure that both the state, the private universities, federal universities, to actually reach out to many of them, especially with respect to this question. Yeah. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay. So the AMB. Okay. Let's go to this one. Now, these are the AMB pillars. You can see the AMB pillars. I've mentioned all of them: legal and institutional framework for contracts and license. Here we're looking at CDAs, community development agreements, all this, and ensure that all contracts with transparency. We know 90 for that. We know 90 for transparency. 90 for transparency. And that is why a lot of us, we would like contributions from this our workshop. Contributions from this our workshop. So Pillar 2, I've mentioned geological and mineral information. Pillar 3, fiscal regime. I've mentioned all this. Now these are the clusters, which I mentioned earlier, the 9 clusters. You can see them. Cluster 1 is mineral rents and management. Cluster 2 is on geological information. Cluster 3 is also human and institutional capacity building. Cluster 4 is on artisanal mining. Cluster 5 is on mineral sector governance. Cluster 6 is on research and development. That's why we talk about research. Everybody, at one time, Tantalite was everything. Everybody. I remember the mines in Brazil were closing down, and then you have people coming to Nigeria, go to Georgetown. But where is Tantalite today? Today we are talking about lithium. Tomorrow you have another for Nigeria to carry out research and ensure that even though we have lithium today, tomorrow they are developing something that will substitute batteries and electric vehicles and all that. So we need to emphasize research. Okay, so cluster 7 is environmental and social issues. Cluster 8 is linkages and diversification. And cluster 9, mobilizing mining and infrastructure investment. In fact, we are reaching out to the Ministry of Works for infrastructure. We are reaching out to water resources. We are reaching out to power. We are reaching out to all these, NDAs that actually will fall on that slide. Quickly, next one. So now, based on this study, we expect the deliverables will be country mining vision. As I mentioned, I was director of planning. When I was there, we contemplated a country mining vision for Nigeria. But up till now, we have not been able to do it. So we are believing that this study will galvanize the ministry, especially into developing the Nigeria country mining vision, so that you can domesticate the AMV into our system. Okay, so quickly, so we can see how do we do that. You can see it here. The logical appropriation of continental vision to bringing it down to national, domesticating the AMV. And the objective is to ensure consistency between commitment made at continental level. Our heads, our president, put 10 there, 2009, that we are going to do this. So I've actually visited the Foreign Affairs Ministry and also talking to them there, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So the objective is, the essence is to ensure that we domesticate AMP, not from the continent to the national. So what do we objective guide? Evaluation of priorities, identification of institutional and instrument. So there's going to be another kind of stakeholders, multi-stakeholders involvement to be able to develop this. So these are listed here. Next one, so that before I bring in next one. So you can see this process we graduate from this study to developing the country mining vision. We can see NMV means National Mining Vision. And these are the procedures that we are going to follow. Some of them are in French because of my colleague who is from Côte d'Ivoire. So don't bother yourself. Now, next one. Okay, so this is the ANDC. I mentioned all this and how the ANDC came about. Specialized body of the African Union created in 2013 to support the AMV vision. And this is what they do, provide technical and political assistance to African countries. I mentioned earlier on that before now, 9 countries have done their own, and presently Nigeria and South Africa has been done. So I mentioned that. So these are all the strategic partners, all the members, AU members, AU Commission, United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, regional. Because one of the things you're also looking at is regional integration, especially regional protocols. Nigeria signed a lot of protocols with regards to minerals with ECOWAS. We are not complying. So one of the things is to make sure. We're also looking at, when you look at the African, the trade agreement, you discover that sometimes where everybody wants to, remember when we had to go to Wuhan to, Carl Smith's gold refinery, So the moment that she was given permission, others came and they wanted to do. Why do we want to duplicate things? If you have that refinery, now West African countries can come here and so there is a need for regional cooperation. So that's the things we are ensuring and we are looking at quickly. Okay. Next one, so I can hand over to my colleague. So AFTA, I've mentioned this, African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which we all know. We've heard about it. So we are working with them. The person that called me first was the presidential advisor. Was trying to on solid mirror. AFC, sorry, AFCT. So we have been talking to him. We are still going to, get to it. So this is the instrument. Next one, General Integration Agreement, which I mentioned. Next one. So next one, quickly, before I hand over to my colleague. Okay. This is just showing you what is the flagship agenda for 2063 and aims to create integrated market. You look at the ASM. One of the things we should actually look at is the market for most of our products. And I remember that some of the initiative then was this fragment project which SNDF started. Our gold, we were looking at them. I was part of the committee, started meeting with the CBN on, this gold initiative, before I left. I hope these things will be come to pass. Quickly, next one before we hand over now. Next one. So all just telling us the story about the AFCFTA, which we can make this available to the historical background. Next one, quick one. Still giving us the benefit, what we should expect from it, integrating our markets, especially in the area of Sodium. Somebody was asking, most of the times when you do, like where I did my PhD, that place got notified. I mean, there was public awareness of what's on. And then the next thing, people from West African countries just, they were all over the place using cyanide to do processing and all that. So the question is this: they are illegal, but one of the things we should look at is if you do regional integration, how will you make their stay permanent, or we need to handle all. So next one quickly, so that I can invite what are the operational instruments. All this we all know can about steps. Go to the next one before I invite. This is still talking about the African regional integration, the benefits. So my colleague, when are you coming on board? Okay, good, it's coming. All right, next one quickly. Nigeria and AFCTA, because we are using this as part of the tool to do the assessment. This is giving us an historical background of Nigeria in particular. It took Nigerians a while for them to accept this. It took Nigeria a while for the Nigerian government to, mobilize and ensure that the benefits come into the country. Okay, and it was ratified in December. Okay, next one quickly so that we can go into. So these are for Nigeria. We have identified 8 pillars: institutional framework development, growing export capacity, improving trade facilitation, domesticating the FCTA agreement, infrastructure development, financial institution strengthening, bridging the gap in the trade information access, and continental labor mobility. We are also looking at the issue of labor. You have child labor, especially in the mining sector. Most quickly, next one. Next one quickly. Our sincere thanks. Thank you.
Please, we can do better. Please, we can do better. Please, and of course, responsible for my boss, Dr. Davis, for that well-tailored presentation. At this point, distinguished guests, while my boss was on this presentation, another my boss walks in, and he is Director of Metallurgical Raw Material Development and Investment Promotion from the Ministry of Steel Development, Dr. Ime Ikeko. Please help us for Dr. Ikeko as he made his way to the podium for his remarks. Thank you.
A very good morning to us all, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's as much as possible, I want to make it as informal as possible. This has come to us at a time I feel we must leave a mark in the sands of time and open a foundation for us to begin to develop as a nation. I have seen, I have heard, I have read, I have traveled, and what I see is that we need to wake up as a country. The mining industry in Nigeria is just fledgling. Perhaps we would have been one of the reference countries in mining if we had remained consistent when our forefathers, through the help of the colonialists, started mining. Of course, we may all know the mining that was done as at that time was a targeted mining. It was a programmed mining to favor the economy of the colonialists because they had industries that had to be supplied with raw materials. Of course, they had to map the entire world, particularly Africa, and find those places where they can easily arrange infrastructure and do a geological exploration so that they can take those mineral resources. The entire concept is that if we are Nigerians, we live in Nigeria, we originate in Nigeria, the things that happen in Nigeria should be of concern to us. Therefore, the mining industry, as it is coming back alive, must not fall into the pitfalls of the oil industry. We have experienced what the oil industry has become in the last 3-4 decades. Must we allow ourselves to fall into the same mistakes they have made? Would we really say that our oil resources have worked well for us as a nation? Perhaps put into percentage, the oil resources of Nigeria perhaps may have worked for us only about 20%. What happened to the balance 80%? So we have something to put in. No matter what your contribution will be. Okay, today, if we do not mine and mine responsibly, our dream of having a steel industry will be a mirage. And if we don't have a steel industry, we will continually depend on those countries that have been able to discover themselves and order and rearrange themselves to be able to produce. And once you are dependent on them, you can never be industrialized. You keep depending on them for everything. How long? How long? So it's a clarion call on all of us, whether you're a geologist, whether you're a metallurgist, administrator, mining engineer, everybody, all hands must be on deck. And I know the country I come from. If we mean to do something, we do it, and we do it very well. We do it with examples, and people come to copy. Oh, I was a deputy director in the artisanal and small scale mining department. South Africa kept asking, they've been trying to ask and find out how we are managing the artisanal and small scale mining activities in Nigeria. We are getting it right. Eh? We just need to up our game and maintain that tempo, go higher. So Well, I think it's providence that we find ourselves gathered like this here. It's a Pan-African course, I would call it. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, every opportunity we have, let's make some contributions to develop a nation. It is people sacrifice. I will say to this gathering today, if I really wanted to be selfish, I would have left the government. But I believe there's a reason why God has kept me in the civil service this long. And that reason will come to pass in a very short time. Therefore, you're welcome. Let's do this with all our minds, and I'm sure we'll get it right. Thank you, ladies.
Can go better than that, for example, for my thoughts, for that opening remark. In every opportunity we have, let's make meaningful contribution. Please and for him. At this point, Mr. Wislas, please permit me to call on for challenges and prospects of the minerals and metal sector in Nigeria. Please permit me to call on Professor Cookie is online. I don't know. Professor Cookie, please, can you hear us?
All right, good morning all. Am I being heard?
Oh, okay, we can hear you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it physically, but my presentation is brief. I'll give my comment, I'll present it. I hope you're hearing me.
Can't hear you perfectly well, sir.
Okay. So the brief topic I'm giving is harnessing Nigerian mineral potential and bad governance initiatives. Well, as is always known, and we all know that Nigeria is blessed. We have a lot of resources ranging from gems to all sorts of mineral resources, industrial, metallic, and the rest. I just mentioned a few here. And this has a capacity to influence our way to the promised land. And that has got to do with some administrative and governance issues in the mineral sector. Now, looking at this map, the next map now, this is a very recent map that we've looked at in the resources in Nigeria published on the geology and mineral resources of Nigeria, just this 2024. You look at Nigeria segmented into various sectors, metallogenic provinces. Look at gold, look at iron, look at tin, look at even the pegmatite belts that have a lot of rare metals, tin, niobium, tantalum. Look at the Cretaceous segments where we have a lot of hydrothermal veins of lead, zinc, barium, and you just name them, including the banded iron formation. That goes to signify how important the energy mineral sector is in the development of this entity called Nigeria. Now, of course, just a brief recap of our African mining vision. It is aimed, the major components is to build a diversified and technologically advanced mining sector for the African continent, to enhance a lot of issues that have to do with transparency in the administration of the mineral sector. Also to enhance cordial and social components in the sector while mining, with the ultimate goal of aims at, in the African framework, aims at looking at sustainable development principles governing our sector, meaning that we have good benchmarks that we will implement to ensure that the administration in the mining sector is properly handled. Looking at policies, looking at stakeholders' engagement, and the rest. Now, Nigeria has made a lot of inroads, has made initiatives, starting from all revisions within our mining acts up to the present ones we have, making a good attempt at giving a good framework for the regulation in the mining sector, meaning that Nigeria is making efforts towards transparency and accountability. Many of the mining regulatory frameworks in Nigeria are plagued with a lot of challenges, yes, but there are attempts to look at that from the various reports we have, including NATI, can testify to that. Now, it is also aimed at Nigeria is also trying to ensure that there is proper revenue distribution and social equity, meaning that all that we have in its mining, there is proper and equitable distribution. Coming up with things like Miremco and various others. That is, we're just itemizing efforts made by Nigeria towards sustainable and governance structures that will help the sector. There is also environmental friendliness. Is the mining sustainable? Are we pursuing a mining sector that is sustainable? Meaning, is it environmentally, is it sustainable in the long run? Is it also including community participation? Many of our stakeholders, like in this project, as we had in the first presentation, many of the stakeholders are involved. We're making efforts to ensure that the stakeholders, communities, and development associations and agreements are upheld to ensure that our mining governance structure are pursued. We know that, particularly in Africa, many of the conflict zones are tied to mineral exploitation. Just a year or two ago, I was privileged to participate in in a publication that involved policing criminality in Africa. And you will be shocked to discover that majority of the issues that come up are linked to mineral resources. Congo, South Africa, Nigeria, Northwest, and many other areas are linked to minerals. So what should have been a blessing is now turning to be a curse, because governance structures are weak, policies are not adhered to, and so rather than being a blessing, you see that a lot of issues plague and eventually help make us not to enjoy what ordinarily should have been a blessing. So the challenges are enormous, but then tied to these challenges are also opportunities. Many of the challenges are framed around regulatory compliance. As we heard earlier on in Nigeria, many of the policies are there, efforts of government, particularly even this government, to ensure, we're even hearing of mining police, just to ensure that we have sustainable and environmentally friendly mining sector. So mining companies must ensure, looking at the frameworks now, negative complex regulatory landscapes to ensure that compliance with local and national and international laws are melted, meaning that we key into many of the international policies, even the African Mining Vision. What we have, what we need in our local balance here is to ensure that we key into those laws. This involves permits, ensure that mining companies obtain proper permits, they adhere to safety standards, they implement environmental protection measures, which are enshrined in our laws, which are enshrined in many of the regulatory frameworks. Many of the mining companies obtain those permits, but they are not either pursued or monitored to ensure that they comply. So we have to navigate around all these regulations and ensure that we keep them and ensure that many of these laws are adhered to. Now, we also look at the environmental impacts. Many of the mining, because the mining, if there is no proper governance within the mining structure, you realize that our environment suffers. So many of the mine, even the African Mining Vision and the laws that we promulgate in this country is to ensure that environments are protected, the communities that are endowed with these minerals enjoy, our waters are not polluted, there is less of air contamination, there's less of destruction of our habitats through environmentally unfriendly practices. So we need to mitigate these impacts. Mining companies must implement sustainable practices to invest in. That means ensuring environmentally friendly technologies in mining. Even the normal blasting we do in quarry, you discover that we have even softer and more friendly technologies. So mining companies need to look at that as a major challenge, particularly in Nigeria, which should reduce ecological damages and footprints. Then one of the major challenges we have also is that these resources are depleting. And so therefore, we must ensure that we explore new methods to enhance new deposits, ensuring safer extraction and recovery techniques. So with all these challenges, the future of mining in Nigeria lies in embracing technologies. We must ensure that new technologies are advanced, which should be sustainable, and our environments are becoming safer. We need to integrate automation. We need to ensure that our data analytics are correct. We need to ensure that environmental conservation are inculcated into our mining practices. And then the industries can therefore achieve greater efficiency. Once there's efficiency, once there's proper documentation of all that we are doing, then you will discover that the mining sector in Nigeria becomes far, far enhanced. Therefore, there should be collaboration between mining companies and governments. We are all on the same page. We are not meant to be at dagger's neck or at different ends. We're meant to collaborate so that communities will ultimately derive the much needed benefits in mining. I'm residing in Nasarawa State here, and I see on a week or monthly basis, I visit areas where there are mining activities taking place. And if you see the damage that has been done, then it simply goes to say that we need to do better, we need to collaborate better, we need to imbibe many of the regulatory frameworks such that at the end of the day, the sector is enhanced. So what's our conclusion here? The mining industry is currently undergoing a transformation. Various governments have made serious efforts to ensure that transformation take place, innovations are introduced, we refocus the sector such that sustainability is enshrined, not just into our laws, not just into the books, but into even the practices themselves. The communities will imbibe trust more and welcome the mining companies once these are enshrined. And so we need to adopt modern mining systems and adhere to key frameworks. These frameworks must translate from books to practice. And therefore, the industry can overcome its challenges if we take opportunity of many of these workshops that we're looking at. So there is a need to highlight the importance of efficiency, safety, and environmental conservation in shaping the future of the mining in this country. I am sure with a few comments I have made, the future is bright if we look in the direction of many of these things that we're talking about. Thank you very much for listening, and God bless. Okay. So thanks for
Professor Kofi. So much for your presentation, Professor Kofi. We celebrate you, sir. Thank you. All right, at this point, distinguished guests, permit to move on to the next item of the program, which is tea break. Please, the tea break point is at the back. So I don't know, maybe from the front, going. Thank you. Please, tea break is up, please. We can start moving. Please. Thank you.
Best time to chop. From Barbara's.
meetings, workshop with us, civil society member, starting and for this exercise, it's simple. Dr. Davis explained the pillar. Yes, it's one pillar for the African Mining Visual Assessment, African Mining Lead Framework. And it's important to have your feedback for each pillar concerning the main challenges of each pillar in Nigeria context. And after the challenges, you can give the recommendation. It's important. You can see in your email normally how colleagues send you the email to the link of service structure intermediate. You can respond now or after. You need to. When I went to make evaluation assessment for all country, I appreciate the discussion with civil society stakeholders because the critique is very, very important. As they know more the Nigerian country context, the practice, they appreciate integrity. I don't say that administration is not. I say that the civil society approach is very, very, very important for me. And let's go. It's simple. Pillar one. Pillar one is legal and institutional framework. Legal and institutional framework have main session. Let's look at in the Nigeria context. Of the legal and institutional framework is modality of contract, license attribution, transparency in the contract. Dispute when say resolution. What is the main challenges on this session? You need to have your feedback. You can discuss now. You can discuss for 14 minutes to discuss for each pillar. Or 10 minutes, Doctor. So I think you should look at contributions. How many of us want to contribute to pillar one? Those of us who have contributions for pillar one, because we want to, it depends on the contributions from the stakeholders. Pillar one has to do with the legal framework. Sorry, legal and institutional framework. Yeah. So institutional framework involve a lot of. So please, if you want to contribute, we just want you to signify so that we can take it. Okay, Director? Yes, Prof? Yes.
I'm sending mine in writing.
Okay, you are sending it in writing. Okay, good. Okay, Director, can we have Director? Director, please want to bring Director Steve now. Please send it.
My contribution to the legal framework for Nigeria is very simple. The Nigerian Mining Act 2007. I'm sure we all know that it's suffering a lot of challenges. Yes, between 2007 and this date is quite some time. And a child that was born 2007 and 20, how many years later? Already 18 or yes age. So I think there's been a lot of developments. At least I have been a key participant in the mining industry within this that time frame. I think 2007 is when the former Ministry of Power and Steel was dissolved, and the steel company of that ministry, the funds was picked and joined with the Ministry of Solid Mineral to represent as Ministry of Mines and Steel. So within that period, we have seen a lot of metamorphosis that I think we need to necessarily reflect going forward. There has been some initiative to review that mining law. I'm sure it's still in the National Assembly, but you can be sure that there can never be a perfect legal document. There can never be a perfect act. As at this moment, there are some things that may be happening in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. We have not been able to envisage. But as we go ahead to implement even the existing one, issues will emerge. Emerging issues will necessitate modifications. So we, the industry player, must make our contributions at every opportunity we have to drive towards a near perfect document. Therefore, my contribution is that we need to capture succinctly the things that we know while trying to operate these legal documents so that we can have the documents that will be futuristic. The metallurgical industry, which is a subset or a derivative of the mining industry, has not been well-grounded yet. The metallurgical industry bill is still in the National Assembly. 3 efforts to make it past the legislative process at the last count just failed just before the last president left office. So we are at it again. But I can tell you that it concerns the mining industry, what is going on in the steel industry. Because if you finish exploring and mining, when you bring out the minerals from the earth, the mother earth, we should be concerned about what happens. What do we do going forward? We just must be concerned about it. Otherwise, we'll be operating in isolation. So I'm sure we are going to occasions when we will call for stakeholder inputs into the methodological field. People, knowledgeable people in the mining industry to make contributions. This will go a long way to giving effects even to the mining law. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Do we still have people? Okay, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. The issue around the legal and institutional framework for the mining sector itself, hopefully, perhaps when we get to the level of getting a vision, we'll begin to put things together. Because there's capacities of things around here that affect the sector. You just talked about the Act of 2007. But there are these regulations and these guidelines, how to get titled, all of that, because the law itself has to be holistic. There are pre-operational issues. How do you get a license? There are also laws sometimes regulate that. I don't know if this new amendment that we talk about get to a point where we harmonize it. Then even the constitution itself, the Land Use Act impacts on mining. Okay, so I think that the legal frameworks are there, the decisions are there. So as we go towards trying to get this African mining vision domesticated, it's time to look at them so that we do not have something that become a flaw in the wheel. They are gaps, and I'm hoping that as this amendment was things that will make it possible to then grant one can be in place. Because when you have all of this myriad of things, it becomes difficult to say, when you look at the legal landscape that has pieces of legislations, it tries to, in a knee-jerk approach, address one problem at a point without looking at the whole thing. Then you begin to have the copyright effect sometimes, where you have something solving a problem and then it goes. So this holistic thing is what I hope the National Assembly will do. But it is now we can say we do have laws, not perfect. If we apply the laws as they are now, we will have gone far, because implementation of the laws is another thing. But already there are a lot of pieces of legislations that create institutions, processes and procedures that are here and there. 2011, we have another one at 2000. So that is my position from my understanding of the sector. We've always longed for a time where we have something we can look at and say, when you take this, it controls, at least to a large extent. You may still have guidelines, because guidelines and regulations are supposed to be product of the laws. But then the law itself was supposed to be solid, and then we get to the regulation and conform it to that specific aspect of operation and different operators and stakeholders within the sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so do we have more on Pillar 1? Pillar 1, also, we also have issue of transparency.
Pillar 1.
Yes, please, can you come? Transparency of contracts. And issue management.
So my comment, in addition to what every other person has said, is just to say that most of our laws are not really effective to the kind of mining we have in Nigeria. For example, we do more of artisanal small scale mining, but most of our laws usually talk about large scale mining and dividing big companies. So when small scale miners or artisanal small scale mining is not really covered by laws, there's a lot of leakage there. So there's a need to address artisanal small scale mining better in our laws in such a way that we're able to curb leakages around that sector.
Thank you very much, Kawhi. Okay, let's have Pillar 1. But we're talking about dispute resolutions, FCO issues, where you have licenses and all that, a lot of conflicts. And how do we resolve that? Pillar 1.
It's part of
It's part of it's all that.
fiscal chains.
Yeah, fiscal. Okay.
They are fiscal chains.
Okay. So in case we don't have, okay, you go, please come. So we're still looking at that, please.
Good morning. Have a good afternoon. My question and contribution would be when he said fiscal regime. And I think now looking at the incentives that we have in the sector, what happens with the new Mining Act? Because the new Mining Act has repealed revenue, royalties, and automatically the 5-year incentive of not paying tax. The Tax Act of 2024, the new Tax Act, by January next year. What it means is that, does that mean that, I think that's my question, does that mean that the incentives are being taken away? Because the Act actually repeals everything, royalties, incentives, revenues, and it didn't expressly say incentives in interpretation. I think that's one of the things we need to start looking at, because that's one of the things that made it easy or some sort of way to attract investment. Well, the Tax Act, my background is low. The Tax Act repeals that. What happens Is there going to be some sort of way to buffer that if it goes away?
Thank you. There, with the director of Lega yesterday, who actually told us everything is now going under the new tax regime. Everything is going to be under that institution. They are removing royalties, everything is going to. And so I think that's one thing that we need to look at quickly. Okay. I just want to find out, I mean, just the English value constitution, and I mean, what responsibility does the subnationals have, state and local government? Because one of the problems we're having with the African thing is that this idea that states don't know their responsibility in the value chain. Is it, when you talk of the land as giving the whole right to the federal government, the subnational states and local government, what royalties maybe what's in the coming vision, I think I didn't specify what role to give to those arms of government. I don't know if them are, I don't know if
See, for states, we are talking about the exclusivity of solid waste. For now, since 2007 law, everything about it is it's under its federal level. But now, you will change now, probably the looking at it, because I think that doing a lot of maybe of America is interesting, because I cannot positively say works. We are still discussing with the legal field, to come to yesterday we will carry. And that is just in the program.
I think what we need to understand this exercise is that how Nigeria benchmarks against the African Mining Vision. Now, if you look at the objective of the African Mining Vision, it talks about inclusive development. That means that it has cut across all layers of government, from federal, state, and local government. So if we are looking at how Nigeria performs vis-a-vis these instruments, then we can now see where some of the gaps are, which you have rightly pointed out that the mining legislation do not seem to give any responsibility to the subnationals, as it were, with respect to how they control or regulate the sector, as it were. And that has created a crisis for us. So if we are looking at it now, we are going to look at it. If we are going to follow the model of the African mining, which talks about inclusive growth and development of the sector, how do we then ensure that all the other in terms of tiers of government rather are in this together? So like you noted that there's a bill before the National Assembly that is seeking to maybe devolve some of these regulatory powers to subnationals. We don't know how it will come out, but for now that effort is there. And the problem has always been that each time you talk about devolution, as far as the mining sector is concerned, the oil and gas sector is also up in arms and say that, okay, what appears, should apply to the mining sector should also apply to oil and gas. And there's no political consensus. There's no political consensus as to what to happen. So this is some of the things that we're going to be bringing out in the course of this research, that these are the gaps that we have, and these are the issues we need to address if we are to meet the requirements of the African Mining Vision. I hope I've been able to put it in perspective.
Thank you so much. Just to also speak to a few women from Accountability Lab. So just to also speak to the issue of equity in the framework. So one of the things you find out is she mentioned issues of artisanal mining versus large companies that they are actually considered. So if you look at 80% from what I found out of mining in Nigeria is artisanally done. So even the 20% that we can say is for big companies, you cannot actually lay your hands on what are the big companies that are actually doing the job. Then the question of how do women in mining have access to funding that they can also participate? The issue of youth participation in mining will also come on board. So there is a gap in the legislation as we have now that we need to look at, or those working on it need to consider how could it be made inclusive in terms of access to funding so that women and youth can actually have funds to get involved. The second thing is that of integration of the artisanal miners. So given that the large chunk of mining activities happening in Nigeria is done at artisanal level, then there is need to find a way to properly integrate them into the mainstream of the mining, which at the moment we don't have. And I think this is a huge gap. So as much as we are speculating and actually looking forward to how to scale the industry and make it large in a sense, we need to look at what currently we have that is working for us and see how that can be fully integrated into the mainstream, the mining into Nigerian sector.
Yes, since we are still talking about legal framework and laws, my concern is in the aspect of enforcement of laws, especially in artisanal mining. How do we enforce the laws that guide the extraction of these minerals? Because just as the director said, like what happened to us in oil industry many years ago will not happen to us again in solid minerals. Because if you look at the Niger Delta, the pollution that was caused by oil exploration in the Niger Delta, they have not been addressed up to now. And if you look at the excavation of solid minerals in various parts of Nigeria, you will see that they are also throwing up the same challenges. So who enforces and how do we enforce the laws that guide environmental issues, environmental degradation that will be caused by exploration of these minerals? We just had a workshop recently on Minamata Convention, which Minamata in Japan, how excavation of gold and the use of mercury, how it affected the people of Minamata in Japan. I see the dangers it threw up. And now we have come to see that there are alternative ways, there are resource chemicals, new chemicals that can be used for extraction of gold and other solid minerals. So who enforces these laws? There is need to for the Federal Ministry of Solid Minerals Development to make the laws that will ensure that the environment is safeguarded from and the populace too. We know what happened in Zamfara, how people died because of gold excavation. Same in Osun or Ondo State. So these are my own concerns.
I want to find out about the community development agreement. It's part of the this. Is there a formal uniform pattern to it now from communities who are host communities actually in terms of
just and the point to make is that I said I will send you my contributions in writing, so I'm not talking robustly on all of these issues. But the truth of the matter is that the ministry has a guideline in this regard, and it's supposed to be a guideline. The idea is that when community development agreements are being developed now, they should follow that guideline, and if they do, then you should have something that's a workable document that will address the concerns of the communities as we expect such agreements to be done. So there's a guideline for any other person who wants to get involved with, and it's available in the ministry. The other point raised about the laws and the enforcement, what the African Mining Vision is talking about sustainable development. And so when we are looking at the concept of sustainable development, vis-a-vis how the practices are regulated, we'll be looking at it vis-a-vis that we have relevant institutions that can enforce the laws in the sector. Now, the issue would then be how, if they are, the issue would then be how effective are those institutions and what are the challenges that they face, so that if we address those challenges, that will make those institutions effective and be able to meet the mandate for which they are the sector. I think that's how we will approach the issue. The laws, the institutions, then will be an assessment of how effective there are challenges. We identify those challenges, and that way we can then benchmark what Nigeria is doing with what other countries are doing. We're able to see whether indeed those institutions are the right, and we need to do more. You know that there's a discussion around the table where kind of regulatory system we have in the sector is one that best suits the sector. If you compare the mining sector to other sectors where you have independent regulators, all regulatory institutions are fused in the ministry, and there are also challenges with that. But all of these are the things that we ought to look at when we are dealing with the laws and institutions that ensure the effective implementation of those laws. I think I'd like to say.
Just what they're very fun. And just to talk to CDA, and Prof said that there are guidelines, but I think that they're enforcing as the other question, the other contribution would be how do the kings and the community know what to demand for. I've seen an agreement that says that we'll give the community something, like they wrote something, and yes, it's not that they told me. I saw a copy of the agreement. The question is what defines something, and these communities didn't know that they had rights to actually ask for maybe 2% or something. Many people don't know. And I think the question it boils down to how do we now sensitize or implement let local communities, and mining is everywhere in the state, or like extra solid oil. You can say Niger Delta, it's community focus, mine is everywhere. So how to proud and let people know, because that way it also protects us. Their own environment. Say close the minds when you finish. It should be in the CDA, but many of these people don't even know that they have the rights to these things. I saw something and I'm like, can't be this bad. But yes, the reality is that bad.
So just to add my thoughts to conversation, environmental stewardship, like my brother mentioned. So I think it's important the law take note of rehabilitation for the ASM operations. I mean, a lot of times just do what they do and then they leave the environment degraded. So there's that gap when it comes to rehabilitation as regards ESM operations. So the law should pay attention to that.
So just
Sorry, timekeeper. Sorry. It's important. You have 6 pillars. The first pillar is legal and legislative framework in Nigeria mining sector. I said it concerns license attribution, contract, transparency, conflict management between operator with government. The second pillar is geological and mineral system. After this pillar, you are tax administration. The third pillar is tax administration. Fiscal revenue, fiscal system to have more environment from this administration. The fourth pillar is need diversification, and investment. The 5 pillar is one for ISL. ISL, you will come for ISL. I know ISL, you are very interested by ISL. It's important for you. And the pillar 6, it is environmental and social aspects. Don't understand and English. Don't yes, nothing. The first pillar is if the legal framework is okay, what is effective and practice? If it's not okay, what's your position? It's the same for all pillars, for the tax, legal, fiscal system. How the country manage the tax, the fiscal regime and mining sector. when they cut the revenue, the repartition is very important. Distribution is very important. There are, for you, the dual system of repartition between federal government with state government, then our system can permit the community, local community, benefit. So this is important for African manipulation. You know, you can go, sorry, let me to the for geological system. And you normally send you the link of the semester interview. You are examined to respond before Monday. Because I leave Saturday, so I'm trying to the region. Monday I can see your response. It's very important that we can discuss to have your feedback globally. Gila, like feeling. It's okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, actually.
Yes, Pilato. Sorry, Pilato.
Yeah, and we're not getting will be that conversation this year.
That one. Pilato. Geological system. Data management, exploration, yes. There are not many geologists here. It's a reason. There are geologists here. What?
Management is one of them. Exploration, data exploitations. Then we talk about processing, right? And value. They do that is the last part of it. Wow. Thing is that data management is very, very important. Even the primary, if you get it wrong, you get it wrong. You get it right, you get it right. Then exploration and the method in which you do your work in the field. Then exploitation. How do you exploit? Do you do the exploration very well, carry it out to get it targeted as our director rightly said, that the Oibos, try to go straight to the targeted, but are we scavenging or a food zoologist and so on? So then we talk about processing. At the end of the day, when this has been taken, you must have the process. You do it the right way. If not, then the way they carry the minerals from them, they take them out. Value addition. It's very important. Have more.
Thank you, Doc.
All right, thank you very much. So my contribution is regarding data. So I understand that the Ministry of the Mining and Financial Office and Ministry of General are doing something regarding information, geological information. I think most of it to do with the kind of minerals that are available, seismic information regarding that investors can use to develop their let's say ventures in code. Well, I think when it comes to let's say data or disclosures, it's a bit limited. So let me explain. For example, if you ask anybody what is the reserves, oil and gas oil reserves for Nigeria, at least half of the room will throw a number out. Whether it's accurate or not, but you see that 36 billion barrels or 37 billion barrels for the oil and gas industry. So we have 37 billion barrels. It's not static every year, but this year 36, 35. But if you ask now, how many lithium depots, what's the lithium deposit in that? We don't know. Yeah. But we are already mining lithium. We have two major, two, I know of one, but I guess we have two people that are mining that are industrial scale. Now, how much lithium is mined? How much is going on? How much is exported? We don't know. But if you look at the other side of it, this data is available. Now, for people like us in the society sector, we take this information and can now work with it. But when it's absent, it limits the capacity of what we can do. So I think the ministry is working on something, I'm not so sure, but perhaps we need to close that gap regarding what is the quality of data. Yes, it takes work, but we need to close that gap. Have accessible data on what our deposits across we have knowledge about the minerals we have. The list is there. The ministry has provided that. But in terms of quantifiable data on what is available, what is going on, what is being mined, what is being sold, we have this information. And this is for the industrial level mining, even if we cannot track additional mining. Thank you.
Okay, let me make comments. It's very critical issues. I told you I was sector. I was the one that compiled the mineral forests for Nigeria. I did that twice in 1998 and also in 2004. And we are reviewing it constantly. And I also did a project on mineral utilization, especially it's going from one in so forth. We try to determine the demand and the supply. See, because if you don't know the supply, you cannot talk about demand, cannot meet demand. For example, you are talking about lithium. Now, that's a critical issue you raised. And that's why one of the things that should be done is to look down at the commodity value chain and pick each commodity and we should not limit it to mineral inferred resource. You know, when you are going to categorize the minerals, you have inferred, you have, different mineral reserve evaluation charts. So before you can say this is a reserve, it's a state, you go from one stage to another. And for Geological Survey of Nigeria, what Geological Survey can do for you, provide for you, that's from the ministry, is the inferred resources. And that is why from there, the private companies are now supposed to go deeper. Geological Survey give you an indication that this mineral is here. Yes. And we think, based on what we have done, this is the inferred resource. So you take it as the private person to go deeper in your investigation to talk about the reserve. So if you don't get the right private people to come, then getting the reserve will be blocked. What we will be limited to is inferred, and that has really stopped us from planning. Because now we are talking about geopolitics in the mineral sector. America is now using minerals to play politics. Yeah. And so what mineral you have, hold it. If you're talking about lithium, China is playing politics with it. So if you don't know what we have, in terms of what you can boast of, then there is some element. And as I said, the problem there, the Geological Survey can only give you fabrics. The private companies should give you this research.
But sir, the private projects supposed to give us exact data for some of this minerals.
Well, the NAMET, let me tell you this, there is no way the NAMET project cannot give you exact. No, we can only still be limited to inferred and on a national scale. On a local scale, that is okay. For example, we have gold in Gwagwalada, and Geological Survey is interested in it, and then they go beyond estimates. But they can't do that for the entire gold occurrences in countries. Yes. So that's why they don't have the funding to do that. Yeah, so these are some of the things we should look at.
Okay, so
please let us go around.
So for the message, it's almost similar. It is private companies that determine almost exactly how much oil reserves are in a particular well, right? After they've done their geological assessment. So I think the same can work in geological, but I believe the private companies that manage best, we do their own analysis and have an estimate of what they think they produce from this area over the next 5, 10, 20 years. That data or information should be transmitted to the government in some way.
Let me come in here. Let me come in here. When you talk about, when you look at the procedure of licensing, you move from reconnectance to exploration and exploration to a lease. All right? In your licensing, before you get the mining lease, you are supposed to have connected the exploration license. Now, the expectation is that your exploration license, if you move into mining lease, that company should have given an evaluation of what they have. That's why before CDAs are signed, it is expected that the reserve is known so that the company, so that they won't put something there, someone just put something, So now it is now between geology, because reports will be shared with mines inspectorate. And that report supposed now to be released to geological survey after 5 years. That's very strange. And so then we need to have, with that, geological survey can do a compilation of what we have under. So you see, the companies must come in to do mineral exploration. Geological survey, the area is so big, geological survey cannot do all. So what we expect is that those companies, before they are granted mining lease, should give us their own reports, so that geological survey can improve their databases.
Yes.
And the nation can now plan. Because one of the things we lack is planning. For example, tin. If you look at tin, if you go to Malaysia, they call Nigerian tin the sweetener. Notice Malaysia cannot sell their tin without benefiting with Nigerian tin. But we don't. We need to. There are a lot of things we need to look at. Sorry, I'm not supposed to. I'm supposed to be listening.
The point about this pillar, which I was going to raise, some of it has been discussed by big tools. But apart from access to data, which is a challenge for operators in this sector, the issue of attracting exploration funds, I think it's something that the exploration fund is a challenge for us, and we need to find ways to do that if we are actually going to be able to improve the sector. If we cannot attract exploration fund like how other countries are doing, we have a problem trying to start. The other point about the risking that we talked about is the fact that, yes, we give a good example of what happened in the oil and gas sector and what should happen in the mining sector as well. But the problem, this distinction that we have, we all must realize that government actually putting a lot of money in the oil and gas sector because they were joint ventures with federal government. And so government put money there to enable them to reach the kind of release that are taking place. That's not happening in the mining sector. So investors in the mining sector have greater challenge in trying to even improve on the data due to that. So the other one that we actually abandoned our legacy mines. Because our legacy mines that given us that kind of information we were talking about, that from there we can build upon. It seems that we're not doing much with regards to the legacy mines as well. And that's one of the challenges that I can easily point out as far as this pillar is concerned.
Okay, well, I will respond to some of them because
no, don't respond to it. You have to correct our answers. So I think our concerns.
Thank you very much. Actually,
please, can I comment? Can I put forward a comment? Can I put a comment, moderator? Can I?
Dr. So,
yes, I want to make a comment. So okay. So the point I'm making, I hope they are hearing me, is yes, in our discussion. Sorry, Chairman, am I being heard?
we can hear you, sir. Go ahead.
It's all right. So the point I'm making is this. Yes, from the comments and discussions we had, somebody asked whether we can, certain data can be given. And the answer is it may be difficult, we may not see all, but I want to just say this, that is it possible that the regulators, maybe Nigerian Geological Survey Agency, we're talking about trying to enhance best practices in the mining sector, the artisanal people, incorporating them and ensuring they are going by the way. If Nigerian Geological Survey Agency can upscale the scale of their data, that if you have geological maps, you have
We lost him. He went off.
We can't hear you anymore.
Yeah, we lost him. We lost.
Wanted to read that we are talking about this reserve we are talking about. Now, in South Africa, they have a code when they are using for them to determine their reserve. In Australia, they have their own. All over, even America and Canada. Nigeria, we don't have. I know recently they say they want to form African mineral resource and something huge. So I don't know whether that one is in operation.
Just
so it is.
map at a
If
better
we
scale,
have that one,
map at better
it's
scales.
only if you have that one that, okay, we'll be able to say, okay, if we want to get our own reserve, we'll not have a reference of the code that we are using. Now, we have the determination of a reserve. The first thing when we determine there's a mineral in a place is that it's a mineral resource. The resource value, they will give it to us. But it's only when they carry other analysis, they will not be able to determine whether it is a measured or indicated or inferred. Is the measured and indicated that are now being referred to as a reserve. The inferred can never be referred to. We'll get a further investigation to determine whether it can be added to that reserve. Now, having known this, we are talking about the geological survey. If geological survey gave us an information, is the operational company that maybe from year to year, they can say, maybe after 5 years or 10 years, you should be able to determine your reserve again, because when you are working, there's what we call exploration. That maybe at a certain level before, maybe you have 30 meters, you can go. Then you started increasing. It's from there you started getting more information about that deposit. So you can determine, because sometimes what they give us might be less, it might be more. So that's where the operational company can also give you further information about that deposit. So that will not be uploaded. It's a kind of information risk management that, okay, this is the data we have about the deposit. Now, all over the country, we know we have a mineral deposit in so place. It's only when the person that wanted to go and mine that place, maybe after giving us a kind of information that, okay, this kind of minerals, you can go into it. But before you can say a deposit is mining, we have a geological reserve and we also have a mineable reserve. In the mineable reserve, that one is the one that will tell you that if you mine that deposit, you are going to mine it at a profit. The geological reserve cannot tell you whether you are going to mine it at a profit. That's where, after you have done exploration and everything, in your mine design and planning, you must come up, okay. That's why I'm saying, even the information they are going to give you from geological survey, from exploration, there are some information that maybe we need to have a template. They always leave behind. This is information that will also determine the kind of mining method you are going to use in exploiting that deposit. Sometimes I call this universal analysis. They don't carry it out, they don't give it to us. That will determine how strong the compressive strength and some other things will determine how the mineral is going to be mined. What I'm trying to say in essence is that we should upscale our data analysis, the information about the particular deposit. From there, be able to.
So we'll go to pillar 3. Pillar 3 is fiscal regime and revenue management, because we want to manage time so that we leave here as soon as possible. So those of us who are going to contribute on taxation, revenue leakages and all that. And so who are placed the floor. So we'll just take those pillars 10 minutes
So we have to cut down the very free. Okay. Pillar 3, fiscal regime, those of the civil society involved in taxation, involved in transparency, accountability, and so on and so forth. So do we have anybody on that?
Sure.
Okay, so let's take this on. So we just have 2 minutes or so that we can manage the time.
Thank you. I'm Benjamin Oyekunle from Good Governance Team. My main focus on this is the issue of revenue sharing. Now, there's been the issue also in the oil sector. It has been the issue in the oil sector. There were some of us advocated for a situation whereby it will be encoded in our law. What's the percentage that will get even to, because when you are talking about ownership of a land, of course, our constitution gave the ownership of the mineral inside the land to the federal government, whereas the state, by the Land Use Act, owns the land. And this is not also recognizing the traditional right of ownership. Now, you see, as we said, the states are agitating for control in this mining sector. Like we have in the oil sector, the whole community, when you find anything in any community, it will lead to trouble later if they are not well settled. I'm from Igbeti in Oyo State, where you have the whole of my local government system map, white map. Every now and then you have the community rising up against the, you have Igbeti marble mining industry and Nigerian marble mining industry there. They rise up against them before you know they shut down the company, before the thing will come on board again. So it's a situation whereby, like we have in the oil sector, that they say, okay, 10% derivation, and it goes to the state government. The state government can decide to spend it anyway in the state. There is no law that mandates them that from this 13%, so amount has to go to where we have 50,000 barrels per day, where we have 20,000 barrels per day, where we have 2,000 barrels per day. Nothing like that. I think, yeah. Okay.
I had a bit what he said, and I think it's always a question of who gets the revenue. I think that's what he's saying. But the law, the constitution is the gun, the constitution gives it to. But we have, I'm also from Oyo State, and I work for the Oyo State Mining Company, the FPV. And you have a case like that in Itasa, where somebody woke up one morning, he just came back to Nigeria as a lawyer and says he wants a new CDA. And the CDA, he said the community should get 40%. And when I said it, I'm like, you're making 40%. How much will they give government? How much will they give before he exports? Because the man exports. So he started TV programs, interviews, and says that illegal mining. So the question is always there. But I think that communities also, and CDA tried to solve that. I think it solved the problem that we had with oil and gas. With the CDA, communities now can ask for some sort of compensation from the mining companies, reasonable compensation, and they get it. And I know that there was a time some states started to say that mining companies should pay a certain amount to the states, but they all rose up and came to Abuja and said that they're already paying royalties. So I think that the revenue collection will still go back to the states. Now, it's the NRS that's collecting all the money. But I know CDA solves that problem with communities to a large extent. If done rightly, if you enter it properly, I think it solves the problem.
Okay, thank you so much. So, last contribution on pillars.
I think we should, as it is realistically, focus on the tax system. It helps us make more trouble, send out small scale miners. I know there are management to get them to organize, to form cooperatives and all of that. The reason is because on the other hand, especially for maximization of revenue, it's one of the things the African Mining Mission and the AMGF wants to do, is to make sure that you do not have leakage. What we have presently in for the big companies is what we used to have when we first started mining oil, where you want to attract investment and you give a lot of giveaways and incentives so that the net government take is very little. Meanwhile, they're only about somehow maybe they are getting 10% of the think as we go along. Since we want to integrate AS, which is another pillar, we should look at the tax and revenue system for collection. For the revenue sharing and all, there's nothing much you can do about it because those are anyway. Now you have those community funds in the KIGD. Maybe we should replicate that also so that you have sub-national transfers and get also to the communities.
Yes. So I think this is challenging. Brief so that we can.
So what my contribution will be around benchmarking of the threshold. So we are looking at the threshold that the Tax Act has brought in and the disparity between that and what you have with the MCO. So what's the plan?
So much. Pillar 4 is on linkages, diversification, and investment. You want to add anything to Pillar 4?
Excuse me, sir. There's a comment.
As a comment, I think NGSA can produce smart and better skills for statistical miners. This will encourage best practices. So there must be a synergy between NGSA, especially in regards to, the ASF extension. The ASF people, thank God they are still here. We had a meeting with them, yesterday, and we discussed some of these ideas. There must be synergy between all the agencies. ASF, they are into essential practices. But the artisanal miners need technical information to mine rights. And so geological survey, ASM in the ministry must work together to assist them. That's what that person said. So I think it's one of the things we should note. Thank you. Somebody else asked, are we in Pillar 4 now? Pillar 4? Yes. Okay, before Pillar 4, I want to understand more the disparity of tax management, tax. What is it?
So the new tax laws. So the artisanal issues around the artisanal miners and the big companies. So the tax law generically places any company that has 50 million turnover, less than 50 million, 50 and less, is exempted from paying taxes. But from the what's the name now? The threshold for the Mining Act is something bigger, which exempts so many of those companies from paying. Yes, from paying tax. So so there's a disparity between the threshold.
Create the new act, the Tax Act. And what if it does already is it repeals everything that has to do with revenue and tax collection in the Mining Act. So automatically the Tax Act takes precedence. Now, if you are not earning 50%, you don't pay the regular tax, company income tax, but you pay royalties on extractives. Do you understand? So you pay your normal royalties on extractives, but you don't pay company income tax. Do you understand the difference? Royalties on minerals, so oil and gas, solid mineral, they pay their normal royalties. But if you don't earn more than 50 million naira in your company account, you will not pay SITA, that's company income tax. But you pay your royalties on what you extract.
Right, Pillar 4. We're sitting at Pillar 4, investments. How do we bring foreign direct investment? Local content. Then we also look at local content. Yes. How do we involve the locals. Again, it's for us to find out why the majors left when they left. I don't get my point. It is, what can we do to bring back fundamental commitment? I mean, it's just a command of my heart, because if you don't do that, it's like I had that discussion with Prof. was saying something about that. If you watch that, most of the investments coming to the old firms are not going to any new destinations. They are consolidating on where they are. That's why if you go to countries like South Africa, Canada, they are there. But in Africa, apart from South Africa, maybe Botswana and Zambia, I don't know if any other country that collected major. Yeah.
The juniors, they are the ones who basically will do the exploration. And their data attracts the major. So the question is, we should look at our junior policy. How do we bring these people who come in with their technology, who come in with their funds, and then do exploration, and then the result of their work is now given to the majors, and then, because the problem we have is our the investors' confidence in the data we produce. Yes, so that's the major thing. That's why when we were talking about Africa, and in South Africa, they have what do they call it? Zamrek and all. But because even if the best professor will go and do an exploration now, and they present the data anywhere in the world, they will not. Then you have the issues of our laboratories. Our laboratories are not meeting ISO standard. If we want to do any test that will be acceptable there, it has to be done in Australia, it has to be done in Canada. So these things we need to solve, so that the investors' confidence in our data will improve, and then so we will bring so quickly, because we want to fill up investments. We are Pillar 4. Pillar 4, right? Yes, I think that. Sorry. You need to spend money to make money. And I think that if government wants to prioritize this sector, there's need to be intentional about it. What we call the Mineral Resources Development Fund, which was set up to stimulate and incentivize and to support. One, is difficult to assess, and I think that what is in there is too small. I think that government needs to set out a fund that will support all that you have said now. Juniors, they won't get money from banks to invest without interest rates. So perhaps maybe we should go to the era of the mining corporations or mining companies. You have the NNPC, when government invest resources, then people to do feasibility studies and ensure it's okay, and ensure that whatever they're investing is not something that has a high rocket interest rate that put their resources at risk. And then continuity in government. When you said you were part of those who developed the roadmap, I asked myself, if we had followed up from the roadmap, that roadmap that I know, by now we'll not be talking of a planning mission, because we appear to have been a baby step towards the mining vision. At some point, we had a disconnect, and we're starting from the scratch. So one of the things we must do is sustainability in the continuity of these systems, and then government must set out a fund. Whatever they will give it to de-risk and incentivize people who want to go into whether they are juniors or seniors. I think it's important. And then local content, that's where it also comes from. Capacity building you talk requires training and skill. The laboratories. It's a private set of laboratory. How do you do the nose to do the test? So you better take it to Australia. But if you have government laboratory, well funded with the right skills, then you can get results that can be tested again governmentally. Thank you.
Okay, talking about policy somersault. Policy somersault. It's very important to have continuity and you see, because the issue is that you could bring in an investor today and you have government, another government coming. Their priority may not be that. And then you find out the people will go. And then so I think we used to go for don't let me talk to you. Okay, pillar 5. Pillar 5, pillar 5, listen. Pillar 5 is ASM. ASM. Like you are waving your hand and you are waving your leg. ASM. Okay, we should go move to other people. Yes.
Yes, for me, that's the part of my region. Half it. I've even did at the country. Because that's
ASM is here now. See them. Okay, let's hear talk. ASM, this is one of the officials of the ASM.
Good afternoon, everyone. The affirmation on formalization, I want to tell you that it's listed as well. And so formalizing the informal miner. LADFA, like we at least as it stands now, we have over 1,600 and something at the federal mining cooperative at the formalized. And we have also started the capturing of their data, the biometrics. We started about 3 years now. And we're doing that like year in, year out. We've done the one of DFA, and the next year we're going to start the moment we receive the funding. So we are doing a lot of formalization, and you can see that even the result is there. Yeah, because now the activities are more organized, and then there is also an increase in revenue generation from personal mining.
Yeah.
So why don't we concentrate on that for the government?
Concentrate on generally the strength ASF.
Yeah.
Because 80% of mining in Nigeria is done by ASF. So what thing is that we should concentrate on now. Well, to attack the CNF.
Sorry, I just have a question. Okay, referring the cooperatives for their ASMs, how much has that helped in attracting foreign investment for the cooperative? Has it helped in any way?
It's organized. Now, one of the questions.
Oh, yeah, just because of organized.
You see, the inclusiveness of the into economic growth.
Yes.
Is very crucial. Because for you to organize the you build capacity. You also are able to account for, because you have a lot of education property. You know, migrate from other West African countries. And then it's also because people are now looking at there's a lot of that's why I have the problems in Canada. Right, so it's a good thing to organize it. Yes. It's also access to funds. Yes. But when you look at it, you need equipment that you can keep under that. Yes. And so it's very important what they are doing. And then as I support that, we have to solidify it here. And then build that place, that's the place of mine. And then from that, not call it with specific soldiers. They are the ones who discovered so they are very important, and I think we should commend what they are doing. And then so pillar 6.
So just
a bit of a concern, because talking about 1,600 cooperative, that is much. But that's not my major concern. My major concern is that from my observation, there are some of these guys, I don't know what is talking with you. I don't know the right term to use for them. There are former artisanal miners, and there are informal. And in a real sense, those guys that make huge amount of money and cause so much environmental degradation are those informal ones. So how do we integrate them? I think that is where the major gap is coming from. How do we get them integrated into, or how could the formal ones now be a watchdog on the informal ones to make sure that some of the fraudulent and I'm careful. It's okay, sharp practices that are involved in all of this are avoided. I just found out in 2024 alone, smuggled mineral resources in this country were between 300 and 400 billion. That is a lot of billion in nairas.
So I think the issue of identity is important.
actually tracking and making sure that's why the sense of formalization. You need to be known. You need to have an identity. And with that, when they're in organized group, we can package them well for economic development. Sorry, sir. Let me take our that.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe this has been mentioned while I was away, on the issue of formalization. So I know the federal government has that initiative to put them into cooperatives, but then how do we measure the success? I said this because in 2021, okay, you asked the question, right? In 2021, I spoke with the director then of the ASN to know the number of cooperatives that we have, and at that time it was about 1.5. The recent gender strategic handbook that came out early this year, which has recent data, still put the data as 1.5 something, I mean less than 1.6. So how do we then measure what the strategy? So we should have like probably M&E framework to ensure that we are able to close some of these gaps. So I think that's very important. But just to respond to me, like I want to say that the formalized ESNs, sorry, the informal ones, they create the environment. But I think I disagree with that. I mean, even the formalized ones, do they do it the right way? There's the rehabilitation part of the conversation. Do they do it? They use mechanized machine, right, to do what they do. Once they are done, they just pack their things and they leave. Their own degradation is even worse than the informal one. I mean, I just thought it's just my personal.
Sorry, for just 1 minute, sir, because we are trying to explain.
Maybe you should not have used informal. I prefer to use the word illegal because they won't join them. Because the power behind them will not subside to this. They will not go there. I just wanted to see there's a linkage between data and what we're talking about. Because I have talked with geologists who have said that it is possible that the people doing small-scale mining are just touching the surface. What is in there? The cartridge. But when they have gone in there, it becomes difficult to then use a major machinery to go because it can collapse. In which case, you are losing out. I don't know, I'm not a geologist. You are losing out on the bulk because some people have done artisanal mining and have made it for the big guy who get the big thing out and money to go. So we need to know the data so that we will know where ASM should play and where we need the big machineries to get the bulk so that we can maximize the mining and maximize the revenue.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, one of the things to say is that when you have, because there's not a show, everywhere you see the ASM, it's an indication that something is there. So you follow it up. And then as he said, you can scratch the surface. They will bring out something, but they can't go far. Where I did my master's, the people there, a man was an illiterate. He bought a lead zinc mine. You see, it was a surface deposit. And they finished mining and they didn't see the lead zinc again. So the children sold the thing to a geologist. And the man used geophysical method to discover over 100 times what they saw in the surface. And when they saw the man mining, they went to him, give us back our land. So we like to hear finance before we, you know.
I think what I want to say is that if we can go back to the document produced by SMMI, they've done a lot. They come for the ASM, either geological survey. They have a lot of information. Sustainable management for mineral resource, but a lot were done. Number checks. Yes. There are lots there. Please let's go back.
So I think
All of them. Yes.
So the that's about research.
That's about research. So we will have to talk about research. One of the things that we should note in there is also about research, especially in the area of equipment. They need recent equipment. Somebody mentioned matter, brown PhD from maybe. So I know what he's talking about. And I know the danger of looking at job. Okay, finally, pillar 6. Before we go to pillar 6 is on environment. Pillar 6 is on environment. Do we have anybody contributing on a lot of issues concerning the environment? That's a very major. So just take 3. Okay, because we are recent. Let's give somebody
Please, let's keep going.
Yes, my name is Paul Dr. I worked at Planet of Environmental Economy niche. Well, it's also related to what I said before. It's about environment. And you can agree with me that the exploration of these minerals poses serious environmental health hazards to communities. We know what happens when some people, especially in the ASN, when children went to river and then because of good contamination, many of them were dead in Sahara, also in the southwest. So that is the issue of environment. So how do we ensure that we use the best international best practices? Because especially for this ASM, since they contribute 80% of the mining complex demography of these minerals, how do we ensure that they use the best global best practices in mining, especially using, because there are outdated chemicals for mining, which they are still using now, which poses serious threats to communities, water bodies, so that we don't continue to lose children and women fetching water.
About this, how do you see that wonderful? Now, we are not going to do. We can't be sensitive for the first quarter. Then we have meeting with go with the government, but they're also doing fantastic work. It's all about monitoring the professionals, and then to be able to identify the hazard to the people and the warning to the people living around that place. So, we also do this. Also, many people are not confident, snap from that. The environment, come details who are any other person before we take this last two. All right.
So very quickly, again, it's about the persons. The way environmental impact assessment to ensure that they are good quality and standard, not copy and space, and to ensure that the community is actually for even before my starts, that they can know what to expect. I think still currently, from where I used to be in this place, you see, I'm going to say the just change the fertilizer, we can never like to see it. You know why? That is the development plan. You know why it's supposed to be an environmental. You know why I'm going to make sure the organization about enforcement, the law for the is there, but we need to strengthen the enforcement and make sure that community are participate well informed so that you know what's coming to them. I think that is something say we should strengthen it.
We have institutional community, national partnering with MEG, that's in the ministry, and then you have the environment ministry also. They should work together so that we ensure that it's incredible what you are doing is true. Sir. And you quote right. You quote 1 million. You did the work. And somebody will quote 50,000. Because it's just going to change the title and copy what and do. This is the problem. We are supposed to have an environmental database. That most times you are not supposed to be repeating these things. Because you have the geo coordinates of all the places. And then you can put imagine assets in terms of those things not being done correctly. Thank you.
Thank you. So man is to take from where this ends. So where the environmental impact assessment ends is the gap after the work has been completed. So at the closeout, what happened? Is there any other assessment to see that the damages caused have been actually mitigated? That is a huge gap. It is happening in the oil sector, it is also happening in the mining sector. The second thing is around the human rights. Most of these people we have heard and seen beat their workers. They have cells where they keep them, do a lot of very funny things with them. And then the last thing is around child labor.
Well, we find also very small children, very young ones on that age, going to do work in the mining sites under very terrible conditions.
So the for the environment for the ministry, they have their rehabilitation, remediation, and closure, mine closure plan. The question now is if they don't have funds to go and monitor it. That's why you have one officer in a state. How will he go around to monitor where those things? So the issue of funding, it's very important. It's what you do. Child labor, human rights, I think they are well looked at.
Environmental, social, and human rights impact assessment. Not only GIA.
Yeah. No, Doctor was meant to come as
So most of the time, environmental and social management plan is not implemented by the companies. And that causes a lot of problems, especially problems of pollution in the company, because there are no much hands to go around and monitor the environmental and social management plan. But most of the time, like men, it's not always easy to get the environmental, social, and management plan from the Federal Ministry of Environment to know what to monitor and what not to monitor. Thank you.
Shows which you oppose. So on this note, please, we want to, all that you have said, we want to say thank you. But please, this will not, your contribution, Prof, before you left, this is for Nigeria. We have invited you here for a purpose, because we found you worthy and reliable to contribute to national discourse. And all these things, we are sending to you what we call semi-structure guide, alignment to Nigerian mining. You remember for each of the pillars, the African mining, the AMDC, they have prepared sets of questions. So we rely on you. We are going to send, we must have sent this to everybody here. Please, if you have not received, let's just give us a wave offering.
Check your email.
Check if you don't have your email there, please make sure it's there. Please, we beg you. Women in mining, please. Give us the emails. Please let me quickly go to before we close. Now, this is it. Can you please, this is very important because this is how we capture. All this will be uploaded to you. Now you can see, you choose civil society, civil organization. Which is the ones you belong to? Next one, quickly. So pillar 1. So what you have here is a combination of 6 pillars. 6 pillars. We want you to fill the one. Pillar 1. So can you see all the questions here? Please, can you help us fill them? You can add all your views. Maybe because of time, you are not able to, tell us what is on your mind. You can put them here. Okay, next one, quickly. Let's go. So pillar 1 is here. It's your overlegger. You can scroll now. Okay, go on. You can see this. Now pillar 2, geographic and geological and mineral information system. Okay, please, can you go on? So put it all you want. Go. This is for geologists and the rest. So those people who are listening to us online also. Okay, now this is pillar 3. Top 6, 7, and revenue management. Base necessary. Okay. Pillar 4. Pillar 4. Pillar 5. Pillar 6. So how do you feel that? Just open you can do it on your phone. You can do it on your computer. Fill it. If you are particular about pillar 3, tax, that's your area of expertise. Fill it. And revenue, fill it. Fill pillar 3 alone, and then go and close it up, submit. It will come to the server. Pillar 4, if you are interested, pillars, you can fill all of them if you have all the time. Now, this will reflect your own
ideas. So please, we are appealing to you all. So that this exercise, the group here, you were selected actually, nominated because of your relevance. And please, we want each group to feel this. That's why it is called semi-structure, because we've had a figure one-on-one. There are people who will not discuss with. They will just, we send it to them. So please, on this note, please, we are appealing so that your views should be reflected as a stakeholder. Feel this, register all that you have in you, and then automatically it's going to be started. So on this note, I want to stop. Okay, a comment, side comments. So before we finish.
So there is a conversation around value addition to, I don't know if it is captured in any of the pillars that domestic value addition instead of primary primary mining processing in country before export.
All right. Okay, please. Sorry. Please, you just go through. We are sitting through the 6. Scroll through and look at the question. The ones that, but make sure you start one pillar and finish it. Don't do half. If you want to fill 1, do. If you want to fill 2, do. If you want to fill 3, do. But make sure you fill 1. On this note, I will take. Moving on this note, I will call Mr. Thatcher for his closing comments, and then we can go. Thank you, everyone. Very happy to be there, to participate with this meeting, this workshop with you, and this work is for Nigeria. When I recruited to work with Dr. Davis, my first desk review, I saw that Nigeria depends on the oil. It's not secret for your economy. It's when the country depends for one sector of the economy, it's very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Now, the world told everything you say transition. Energy transition. Energy transition need mineral. You are mineral. What energy transition needs? Let make diversification investment for Nigeria. It's very important. This exercise is for you and for the next generation. I hope that 50 next year, Nigeria will be mining country with us mining country destination is important because you are not mineral. You need to create add value. It's very important for you. I appreciate. I will be happy to be there for the validation with you of this report. Normally October or November. I'll be there to make validation after the report. I ask you to give the information, more information. When you go to see the doctor, and you say, I am LH, the doctor will be diagnostic for LH. And if you don't give true information, it's not possible. It depends, our report depends your information, your response. Thank you. I like Abuja because I'm not like traffic. Abuja is very, very, very peace. It's the same that Yamato and Ivory Coast because they are not traffic. Thank you.
Well, that is going to say which just please applause for the lead consultant, Dr. Oh, okay. Okay. Are you Dr. Omise? Okay, Mr. Patrice Elba and Dr. Alvin Boss for that powerful presentation and very much through this workshop. I also want to use the opportunity to celebrate my boss, Dr. Ime Ekribo, and women in mining and the host other directors and presidents. We love you. We love you. Okay, at this point, please, can we all step up for this festival event destination? Thank you. Please, don't photograph, please, 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 please. Yes. Thank you, please. Oh yeah, oh, make me go. There's picture. Just look photograph, please. And step forward for a group photograph. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Please now, kindly step forward for the group photograph. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Please, we are waiting, please. Group photograph, please. Where is the camera line? Cameraman, come. Sit down. Can everybody fall back, please? Let's do group photographs. Then we go. Thank you. Please, 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 please. Group photograph, please. Please. Hey, group photograph, please. Madam, are you not, are you against us, please? Consultant and the director of women in mining, you can sit, please. Okay. All right. Okay, all right. Please. Are we okay? Are we okay? Are we all right? At this point, you come to the end of this workshop. Do have yourself to match your event destination and God bless. Thank you. Let's do it. Sure.